Enough about me. Let's start with the first panel. This is so exciting because this is completely unrehearsed. Right? We've only just met, literally 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to park on this stool here, right? Now, Amy's slightly nervous about this, and you'll see why in a second. Our first guest panelist is Amy Allen, Head of Fulfilment and Supply Chain at Selfridges. That was immaculate. A round of applause for Amy, I think. Well done, well done. Right. Our second panelist this morning is Laurence Fontinoy, who is the Head of Circularity at Decathlon. Okay. And our final panelist today, all the way from Portugal, is Stephanie Crespin, founder and CEO of Reflaunt.com. Please join us. Okay, right, to kick off this session, I'm going to ask each of you, I'm going to start with you, Amy, if that's okay. I'm going to each of you to talk about 3 minutes about how circularity is really driving change at Selfridges.
Yeah, so I'm Amy Allen at Selfridges. For those of you that don't know Selfridges, and I met a few people yesterday that weren't familiar with the brand, we're a luxury retailer based in London. We're made up of 4 stores, 1 flagship. It's a £1 billion store, I think one of very few in the world, and 1 digital platform. We're selling 27 million SKUs, and we're generating just under £2 billion worth of sales each year. And in 2020, we set upon a journey to reinvent retail. Sustainability is at the heart of everything that we stand for at Selfridges, and we truly believe that we need to reinvent retail in order to offer the most sustainable, long-lasting products and experiences for our customers that join us in our London store. So over the years since 2020, we've been building our circularity models, changing mindsets, and committing to material pledges to help us on a journey to get to carbon net zero by 2040.
Brilliant, excellent. Would you like to tell us a bit about Decathlon, sure. Which, by the way, is my favourite store in France? It's brilliant. Absolutely, they sell everything you need for an outdoor life. As you can see, I love the outdoor life. So enough about me again. Talk about Decathlon.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So at Decathlon, just a few words or so about Decathlon. We are a multi-brand, multi-sport retailer. Present in 60 countries, a lot in Europe, Asia, Latin America, Middle East. The journey on circularity started some time ago and is super at the heart, really, of the strategy of the company. From the top, from the shareholders, from the employees, there is such a willingness coming from all the employees to really bring it at the heart of the strategy. So we've been developing in the last years 4 business models that we're scaling pretty massively in the countries. The first one is secondhand. So we buy back the sport goods from our users, we refit them, and we resell it secondhand. And that is, like I would say, the biggest part today, and it's working across all the categories. With a big concentration on mobility bikes. The second area is rental, and in rental it really depends the type of product. Rental we have for products that are used more on an occasional basis, like on holidays, or it's around skiing, or it's around water sport. So that's short-term rental. And then we have another business model, which is subscription, which is really interesting business model for a company that is used to sell one time something, right? So we have this recurring business model on bike, on fitness, and it's working really well in certain countries. We already have like a very major part of what we're selling under the subscription business model. So with the buyback or the second hand, we're already in 20 countries, so it's really like large scaling operations. With rental, we are in eight countries. And then we have in 60 countries, and it's all this business model, repair. So we have workshops in all our stores. And it's really for us like the base of circularity, because you come to the store more often, and it gives a reason to come back, right? And it also creates some link, emotional link with the brand. So that is a big base, and it's actually an enabler for the other business models. So if you don't have good repair, refit capabilities, it's impossible to take back your goods or to rent and take it back and to rent again in the best condition possible. And then we've been also lately really looking into recycling and setting up the flows in recycling. It's maybe the most, the youngest of our business model, and maybe the more complex to set up, and it's more strategic because it's not so much around the type of revenues you can generate from recycling, but it's more a strategic regulatory perspective, product differentiator. So yeah, we have quite some operation, and for us, it's not sustainability only. It's a lever of growth, and it's also a profitability driver in the company.
Brilliant, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Stephanie.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm founder and CEO of Reflaunt. So Reflaunt is a startup. It's a 5-year-old startup, a B2B fashion tech. And we power brands like Balenciaga and Net-a-Porter with a tech solution, operational infrastructure, for them to get into resale and to build circular model. So it's my second company in the resale space. Reflaunt was born and incepted, or it's a spin-off of my first company, which was a second-hand luxury marketplace called Style Tribute, and was born out of the insight that first-hand and second-hand are operating in silos. If you're a customer, you buy a bag and then resell it through a complete disconnected experiences. So brands and retailers are excluded from that part of the process. So we built Reflaunt to connect the first-hand and the second-hand world, and to create a fully integrated customer journey. So how does it work? Let me walk you through it very quickly. So you've bought this beautiful hourglass Balenciaga bag, and you decide 6 months later that unfortunately you're not having sufficient wear from it. So you go back to the brand's account, where you have all your past purchases. So you may have bought a dress, shoes, and this bag. You click resell, so there's going to be a button next to each of these items. And since we're integrated in the back end of this brand, we'll capture all the product information, so details such as the size, the color, the initial price, but also information related to the customer itself and the transaction. Once that's done, the customer gets to choose between either a drop-off in store, either a pickup at home, and the items are then sent to one of our operational partners. This is where it becomes relevant to you guys. So we work with many different 3PLs and operational partners. DHL is one of our partners. We have 7 hubs across the world, so 2 in Asia, 1 in the US, 2 in Europe, Middle East, so on. And that's where the items get graded and checked and photographed. From there, we'll be scraping with AI all the product attributes, and that finalizes the product information that then gets broadcasted on a network of marketplaces. So we're today integrated with about 40 different channels to maximize sell-through of the products that we collect, maximize visibility, and tap into different audiences that are across the globe. Once the second-hand shopper comes along and purchases the item, the initial seller gets to be paid either in cash or shopping credits to buy again with the brand. So essentially what we're doing is creating a loyalty tool and a virtuous cycle for the brand and retailer, service to the customer, and extending the life cycle of products.
Brilliant. That was a really good explanation.
Thank you.
Right. I'd like to come to you first. So you mentioned your different models, and you've got a subscription model. Can you give us an example, or share an example of a subscription model in practice at Decathlon?
Yeah, sure. Actually, the business model, they really interconnect, and that's the complexity of things, because the stock actually is between the business model. So if you take, by example, a junior bike, a bike for a kid is growing rapidly, so he needs to change the bike. And at the beginning, as parent, you want to optimize, so you buy a bigger bike. So at the beginning, the kid has a big bike, and then at the end of the cycle, he has a too small of a bike, right? And then at the end of the time, 50% of the time, it's the right size. So what we do is that we do a subscription business model, and this is maybe one of the best case scenario because of the dynamic. So the parents take the bike in a subscription. You pay on a monthly basis. The kids it's a new bike, or super refurbished, so it looks like really new, and use the period of time. We take it back, we refit it, and then we rent it again, right? And at the end of that cycle, when the bike is not in the right shape to rent it, we pass it and we refurbish it again, and then we sell it secondhand. Right. So it's really like the full cycle. And here I've been talking actually about 3 business models, about rental, about buyback, about selling, reselling, and then repair at the same time. So it is really interconnected, and it's the challenge to set it up, right? Because most of the time in the organization you start silo. So you start to build one business model, you have people to build that business model, and then the interconnection is not there, of the stock, of the tech, of the operations, of the people in the store. They know how to rent, but maybe not how to do a diagnostic for a return of a bike, by example. So the complexity is really around the tech, around the reverse logistics, and then around the skills of your staff, because the staff is used to sell new product, not to have things that comes back. So it's a major shift for an organization actually to have things coming back, or also things that business models that are recurring. It's a very different way of managing the users, so the way you sell things, the way you position your products.
It's a really strong example, and it strikes me that the Decathlon business model has really helped you come up with these excellent circularity journeys, if you like. So that's really interesting. I've got a question for all 3 of you. Perhaps, Amy, if you answer this one first, because the cynic in me knows that we're all in business, right? And business is, generally speaking, about generating revenue and sales and creating profit for your shareholders or your owners or your investors, okay? So, and you generate that through increasing sales and more sales and more sales. So circularity, it seems to me, when you're talking about returns and reselling and refurbishing, and is it a conflict? Can you achieve profitability, or will circularity potentially damage profitability, but businesses become more purpose-driven? So my question is it purpose versus profit? Amy?
I think it's a great question, and we're still testing and learning really hard in this space. But I think we've just already gone through a few examples that quite clearly demonstrate how you can really make streamlined, productive operations that in turn are profitable. The example that Laurent just gave around a bike, that was a number of different sales opportunities with one asset. To be able to purchase less stock, have less risk as an operation and as a business, and generate a loyalty scheme, a way that customers continue to come back and trade with your brand, by nature of that, you're generating more profit. The amount that you invest in stock for pre-loved is a cheaper way of sourcing stock, and I think what resonated with what Stephanie just said is that first-hand and second-hand has always sat in 2 different lanes. My job within the supply chain for Selfridges is to ensure that we have one central shared service to leverage our typical first-hand supply chains and work streams and enable us to do a really productive, efficient supply chain model for our new adventures. And you can partner with really great tech companies out there that will help you do this. And as long as our partners and our 3PLs are continuing to be agile and work with retailers, you have a real opportunity to unlock greater potential in your customer base. We set off last year with monitoring how many customers were engaging with our circularity products, and they were only 1% of our transactions. Last year, it was 45% of our transactions are in a sustainable space under Project Earth. Sorry, not 45% is our target. We moved up to 25%. We're seeing rapid growth.
1% to 25%?
Yeah, and that's either across our material pledges or circularity. We're generating £13 million worth of sales just in circularity. And these are customers that are either just looking for circularity or weren't looking for that, but we've been able to give them an experience and retain them. And seeing huge growth in refill, as an example, where that's far more cost effective for all the partners involved, generating the pure product and encouraging our customers to buy, the full product once and then come back or work with us from our digital platform to refill that product. And that's a better competitive model for our customers as well. We can pass on some of those savings.
Can I just ask you, give me an example of a refill product for Selfridges?
So I'm a big fan of Le Labo, and we've been working with Le Labo on refill product for a long time. They started in 2021 in our store. And a Le Labo fragrance is around £250. You get beautiful packaging, you get a beautiful experience when you're purchasing that in store, and they'll enable you to come in and refill your package at a much discounted rate because you're not having to sell the glass, you're not having to sell the packaging. We're working with brands like that to enable distance selling refill as well, so much more minimalist packaging product to refill your lipstick, for example. So Prada have just launched a really great sustainable refill beauty product range. And we want to be able to stock those kinds of products, test the market, give customers what they want, and pass on those savings whilst retaining profit.
That's brilliant, brilliant. Stephanie, so the question, profit versus purpose, or can you do both?
Yeah. I don't believe you can do a meaningful impact if it's not financially sustainable, right? And at the end of the day, I'm a skeptic like you. So it needs to go hand in hand. So it's just a bit repeating what Amy was saying, but what we've built for the brands that are our clients is really a loyalty tool. And what we've seen across our biggest customers is that customers are more engaged, so they come back on average 7 times more to the website because you create new opportunities of communication, new touch points, and you can communicate with them in a more meaningful way than just buy, here's the new collection, here are the sales. You're offering a real service to them. Second is they are able to acquire new customers. So 1 out of 4 customers that go through our service are actually a new customer to the brand or to the retailer. So either that customer was purchasing with a retailer and not with the brand directly, and that's a way to reacquire their own customers. Either it's through the selling of pre-loved items, they're able to tap into a younger audience. Gen Z are very sensitive to pre-loved. And then the third point is the customers become more valuable. So there the metric is quite striking. We've increased by 3.2 times the lifetime value of customers. And that's a mix of the fact that they come back more frequently and purchase more with that brand. It doesn't mean that they purchase more in absolute, but with the brand and the retailer. And they go and purchase more expensive items that have a tendency to stand the test of time. So they are going to be upsold to items that are more qualitative and that have basically more desirability as well in the second-hand market.
That's a really interesting point. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
But I guess if you enter into a purchase knowing that actually I want to buy something that's going to be worth something 6 months' time when I'm ready to to get rid of my pre-love item,
Yeah.
then you're less sensitive to the purchase price originally because I guess it's going to be worth much more. So it's a really interesting point. Yourself, in terms of Decathlon, you know, purpose versus profit, what's your view on this?
Yeah, we really always see it from 3 angles, 3 dimensions. So first one, of course, is the CO2 reduction. It's a big lever for decarbonization because you shift your offer, right? But we always look at it as a lever of growth because actually there is huge growth in circularity. So for us, it's a big lever of growth today, and everybody sees it. And then there is profitability. How do you drive profitability? Because of course you're not profitable in all the business model. Some of it you know exactly. And it's really important to work with finance to really see and define what are the drivers of profitability that you need to work on. And consistently across the business model, it's always about stock, it's always about refit cost, logistic cost and the flows there. Right, and then in some, it's also about like capabilities in buyback or secondhand to buy and purchase price the right way, make the right diagnostic. When you have sellers in the store to do it, like which tools do you give them so that they can purchase the right price, so that we can sell as well the right price, and the margin there is the right one to make it a virtuous cycle. But I think at Decathlon, it's really it's amazing because from the board perspective, from the CEO perspective, from the management perspective, the employee perspective, everybody wants to embark it. It's actually sometimes even overwhelming. It's just like, okay, we need to do this in a structured way, but it's definitely not, we don't need to educate people or to convince people. It's the other way around, right? Everybody is so convinced, and it's really nice to work in this way because it's more about structuring, making sure we see where is the priority to put on and to focus on, to make it profitable, and to have everybody focus on it. And it's in all part of the organization. So it's a work together. It's really cross-functional. We have people, circularity, sustainability people in all the part of the organization dedicated fully, but also working together with all the linear business. And it's a full integration. And when you do the projections, today people already fully integrated, they do the projections on new product, on second-hand product, on repair, so it's already there. It's not like different trajectories. It's already integrated today.
Perfect. Right, we're running close to running out of time, so 1 minute each of you now. I would like to start with you, Stephanie, in terms of if you've got one thing, one piece of advice you would give to retailers in the room in terms of moving towards a circularity model, what would that be?
It's a bit generic, but across the brands that we've talked to and retailers we've talked to, where it doesn't work is when, again, it's a siloed approach. So it's a sustainability initiative. It can't be a sustainability-only-led initiative. It needs to be an organizational-led initiative, and that's part of the success that we've seen at Decathlon, that you've seen. So the CFO needs to be on board. The CMO, the marketing needs to be on board because it's affecting the full customer journey. So you can't drive your sales the same manner if you truly want to unlock the value behind circular models. So it really needs to have all the executive team that is fully on board and ready to put some investment behind, because of course it doesn't mean that it's profitable from the get-go. But to make that change, it really needs to be driven by all departments.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Amy?
I think my advice would be to not be afraid to fail fast. So this is a new space for any pre-existing retailer that has bricks and mortar and digital platforms to try and really amalgamate the circularity journey to make sure that it is one succinct proposition is going to be a challenge. So fail fast, don't be afraid to put things live and learn and test. Seek feedback, get customer sentiment, and leverage your partners. So think about what you can do in-house, leveraging your existing supply chain, and then work with partners that may be more established to give you a really good insight into what's going to work well with the products and the ranges that you have.
Brilliant. Laurence, final?
Yeah, I think make it as an incentive for the company across the board for everybody, as a KPI, as a variable part, right? And then definitely really make sure it's understood from the beginning. There are different tipping points in the moment. So you have a first tipping point to get the foundations up to 2% of your sales. Then it's really like an entrepreneurial moment. Yes, and then you start to have organic growth because the users, your customers see what you have. And then there are some other tipping points around 4 or 5% where you really start to need to industrialize what you have. It's not anymore an entrepreneurial exercise or POC, right? You really need to be scaling this massively everywhere.
Brilliant, thank you. So to recap, whole of the senior leadership team needs to be involved.
Yeah.
Fail fast, learn, reset and move on. Incentivize the whole company to embrace it. They're the 3 big tips. Ladies and gentlemen.
And don't hesitate to come for help.
And don't hesitate. These guys are going to be around for the whole morning? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, please thank Amy, Laurence, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.